Jesus, the word adoption. And I think that where I was going with it is, in Hebrew culture, which often means there's a lot more, I can say, I like apples. They have 15 words for that describe how the color of the red the apple is, how much they like it, how they like it, what part of their body likes it. I mean, that's how their language works. It's very much more in depth. So when I started looking up in the New Testament what adoption actually meant, you come in higher than your own children. You come in, to be brought into somebody's family, you're actually put above all the others. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that? That's different than my perception of adoption through my American eyes. So as I started looking at it, I was like, okay, Jesus, so where are we going with this? Then you led me to Ephesians 1:5. It said, He predestined us to adoption as sons through Jesus Christ to Himself, according to the kind intention of His will. The spirit of adoption, I've heard. How many times has anybody heard the spirit of being an orphan spirit?
Right.
All of a sudden it started making sense in my head. I'm a little slow. I know, maybe y'all are ahead of me.
No.
The devil doesn't attack. Man, if I've got $500 right sitting right here and you want to take it, the most obvious way to do it is to get me to look somewhere else. So what happens is we walk around as orphans. What happens is it's not just me. It's my dad did.
Right.
And his dad did. Oh my gosh, now it's generational. Now we're all walking around not understanding that we're really sons and daughters of the King and that we can walk into this adoption anytime because Jesus picked us. We didn't pick Him. We just got to walk into it. This is messing my mind up. Because this isn't how I was taught. This isn't how I was, this is not the gospel that was presented to me.
Right.
What happened? It was a sweet moment for me of being able to sit down, and I walked in it. I know, I feel like my identity is stronger than it's ever been before. But just to sit there for a second, I said, Jesus, who do you say I am? Because if we're adopted, we need somebody to tell us. Because we're not who we think we are. It's the whole spirit of adoption thing. It's sort of twisted my mind out. And I don't know if y'all ever done that. We'll give you a chance here in a minute. You know, so we're adopted. And in the language this is written, we're brought in above. Not equal, above. So we're basically, I flash over to prodigal son coming on, which really should be called the prodigal dad. But
Right.
he runs up with his robe and his ring, which means everything. That's just, so in today's, he runs up with our nice 4x4 truck. Oh my God, sorry, girls, y'all can, Lexus, whatever y'all want. He runs up, here's the card, here's the keys to the car, and here's my debit card. That's what happened. And we sit around and starve. We got $1 million in the bank. And we never go get us something to eat. Does that paint a picture? Because I know that's what I did. I didn't understand. I didn't understand all I had to do with that. I didn't understand all I had to do is accept my identity. Oh, I don't have to be this guy?
Right.
I can be this guy? Wait a minute. How does this work? Well, see, Jesus grew in that too. That's when he grew in favor, and he grew in knowledge, and he grew in wisdom. That's not just word. That's what he was growing in. I truly believe that he was growing in understanding what, not he knew his mission, he was growing in understanding what he was going to have to do. He was growing in understanding of what was around him, how did he take care of this, how did he walk away from this, and how did he keep going. Because it says he was tempted by all things. Now, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
I mean, some girl walked by and showed some boobs, or, I mean, tempted all things, whatever porn looked like back then. Jesus was tempted about that. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about him being in a situation where he was paying somebody for bananas, whatever they were eating, I don't know, and he got too much change back? Maybe he was feeding on his donkey. I don't know. I'm just You start thinking about all that. Don't tweet that. That would be really
That's totally. Stephen.
But he was tempted in all things, and how did he stay away from that? Well, I'm going to tell you, I couldn't say no to things. It was real easy. I couldn't say no to things until I started walking into my identity. Until I realized, there's a difference between salvation, there's a difference between inner healing, deliverance, there's all of that. Salvation, it's great if it comes up front, sometimes it comes afterwards. Everybody wants you to think that there's a road to walk on, but there's God's road. And sometimes there's a bunch of loops in that. So as we're walking, I'm going to go back to the beginning. Why? Why? I can sum up almost every problem in this room. And I know there's other spirits. I can sum up almost every problem in this room with 3 different things. That's comparison. That's shame and fear. Everything you're walking in. Does that sound familiar at all? It's the first thing the devil attacked in the Garden of Eden.
Wow.
He said, hey, did God really say? I think he's just trying to hold something back. You're the bomb and all, but you could be the bomb.
Right.
And just take a bite of this. That's comparison. It means I gotta be you, right? Let's make this real. This man, Eric's awesome. I want to play golf as good as Eric. So I'm going to compare myself to him constantly, right? I feel belittled, so all of a sudden I'm trying to be somebody I'm not. Fear? Where's fear coming from? Because they ate the apple, and guess what happened?
And go hide.
Where you at? I'm not here, God. They were afraid. Why were they afraid? There's no reason at that point to be afraid of God. They were in perfect relationship. The tree of knowledge gave them the idea of, oh, now I have to be afraid of God. That's how that, play that out in your head. They weren't smarter. They fell for it. And shame. Fig leaves. It's interesting when you start thinking about it. So I'm processing this message out with God. And that's a pretty good word. I like that. Then I started thinking, well, the devil always comes at us with the exact opposite of where we're supposed to walk. So let's turn that around. So what's the opposite of comparing? Or coveting is what we call that. It's you forgot your identity. What's the opposite of shame? You took on a false identity. And fear is no faith in your relationship with God. It all points back to this adoption. Spirit of adoption. It all points back there. I'm going to drum it. I'm going to drum this. I'm going to drum it. Because until we realize who we are created to be, until we realize the goodness, and please hear me, I'm not saying he's going to give you a download on what company you should start or where you should go work. He might. That'd be awesome, right? I'm not saying that kind of thing. I'm saying until you know in your heart that you're a princess of God, and that he loves you more than anything, and that he's going to protect you, that he's going to provide for you, and that you're not going to miss Chad's word, you're not going to miss a bill, that you're not going to, until you can walk in that, until you can be confident in that, comparing shame and fear, they creep in. And it's not because we're bad, it's because that's the attack. It's how we process. Because of the tree of knowledge. So none of this is bad, it's just choosing. That's all it is. I guarantee if I know Joe really well, we've known each other for a long time, and I guarantee both of us sat down and talked, neither one of us planned on being where we're at today. It's not what was in our head 30 years ago. It's just not. We took on the wrong spirit. We operated not in who we were supposed to be. Okay, so The bigger picture, I'm going to leave that alone. I've been hammering that for a little bit. I want you to look at something here. When you look at Jesus' life, it says he grew up. We don't hear a lot about him from 0 to 33. Right? There's just not a lot there. He ran off once, was in the temple. You know, I never did that. Out of the temple anyway. We didn't hear a lot about him growing up. Can I suggest during that time is when he was growing and maturing in his wisdom? 33. We hear a lot about. What happened at 33? That's when he started building his family. That's when he started building his spirit family. That's when he started calling disciples forward. That's when a group formed, right? So there's 33 years of learning. You following me? I'm just painting a picture. That's what, if we back up a little bit, that's what it is. 33 years of him growing. Then there's 3 years. I'm sorry, he went 33. He's 33 when he died. 30. So it's 3 years of ministry. His group starts taking shape. Now all of a sudden, his 12 disciples are around. He's got running buddies. He's telling them about identity. Because what he's really doing this whole time. He's teaching. He's teaching about the kingdom. He says more about the kingdom than he does about even money or even hell. He says the kingdom of God. Oh, sorry. And then he takes off. And what happens? The disciples carry it forward. So what I'm trying to show is we'll use that as a textbook of our life. You know, I pray every day. Legacy is a huge word to me. I pray every day for my kiddos, as I know y'all probably do. You know, and I'm praying that they're world changers. I'm praying that they hear God even better than me, that they have more visions, that they heal more people, that they prophesy with more people, that they're wrecking balls in the world. That's what I pray. We spend this time figuring out who we are. We start building a spiritual family, and the world will change. Period. We have a roadmap. The Bible is more than what it just says. It paints a picture. We can learn a lot from that. We can, just looking at Jesus' life, if I just stayed in the 4 Gospels, I'm sure my limited brain would never get to all of it. But I see this as a picture for legacy too. I see it a picture for each one of the people in this room. You know, when we start working, when it's hard, when we're going through money problems, and we're going through marriage issues, and you know what, we're going through our own issues that we just never dealt with, and we go through, you know, how my dad treated my dog, or whatever hurt us when we were young. You know, I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm saying that's part of the process. Inner healing, deliverance, and being set free is part of this, because until you're free, you can't build that family to come around. Because you know what the disciples talked about the most?
Wow.
Hey, man, I got sent over to Denton the other day. I went into this church and I started spreading the good news. You know what? All these people got healed and Jesus wrecked the place. It was awesome. And they came back and, oh yeah, well, guess what I did? That's the melting pot. That's what we're trying to create. That's the fiery furnace, right? And I'm not saying if you got a problem today you shouldn't be here. I'm saying you should be here. And I'm trying to give you hope that there is more coming. I'm trying to give you hope that me standing in front of you is nothing short than a miracle.
Amen.
Right. That's good. It's a good job.
It's because God is, I'm at the part of my life right now where we're about to change the world. I can tell, I feel it. We're going to wreck this town. We're going to do it. We're going to take it. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I am convinced. Because he didn't waste it. I know the people in this room.
Word.
And I know most of our stories. He didn't waste it. This is an accident. This is not for Sundays. Just wipe that out. It's not for Sundays. I'm so tired of church on Sundays because that ain't church.
Right.
That's when we get together and tell stories about what God did during the week.
Wow.
That's what church was.
Yeah.
So let's talk about revival. You know, I think revival has a lot of different meanings. I think that we hear about Toronto blessing, and we hear about the Brownfield revival, and we hear, you know, a lot of times I think this word revival can be shoved into this weird factor of saying, well, God did something there nobody understands. I'm totally cool with that. Don't get me wrong, I like the weird factor. I don't have to understand what God does. And if I did, he would probably look more like me than like God, right? So I'm totally cool with that. But I think it does take a word from the revival, because I can tell you there's been a personal revival in my heart. I can tell you, I can point out people, there's been revivals in their heart in this room. And it's until, I'm going back to the, don't just keep ignoring that thing that snubs your toe every morning when you get out of bed. Don't ignore it. Take authority over it. If you need some help, call me, call one of us in this room, build a family. Let's go get it. I'm tired of a weak, flimsy Christian life.
That's good.
I don't even want to be called a Christian. I want to be called a believer. 'Cause I do believe. You know, Christian was a derogatory term from the Romans. Sorry, I'm not going to about that tonight.
Dude, that's for next week.
Yeah, we'll just say that. There's a boldness about this walk. There's a boldness that comes when people start coming around you. There's a boldness when Daddy shows up. And all you have to do is that you ready for this? I saw it the other day. Old Testament. Our whole goal is to stay in front of that. And if I got out from Holy Spirit, right? If I got out from that light, I'm done. I'm not even insane. I might as well die. It's not worth it. New Testament,
Come on.
everywhere I go.
It's good.
That's my job. That's your job. Everywhere we go, because we invade dark places. Dark places don't invite light. They don't invade light. We invade dark places. That's our job.
Good job.
It's a shining, burning lamp.
That's all I had.
Right, I mean, that's
Yeah.
our hearts.
That's good. And when our hearts, when we step into our adoption, when we step into who we are, when we deal with all the crap that's on our plate that the world tries to give us, well, guess what? The world's sort of designed to do that.
That's right.
The spirit of the world.
Come on. Come on.
When we start dealing with that, we start finding freedom. And once that freedom starts, guys, this is really an invitation. I want to give you hope today, and it's an invitation. Let's go deep and drink the things that are good in this Holy Spirit. I had a dream the other night. I was floating on the water, and I felt like I had this. I get weird dreams, so don't freak out on this or try to interpret it. Legacy of the church, if you will, was just printed out as legacy. It was in the back of the boat, hanging over the back, sort of like a motor. And all of a sudden, I felt God just pull me into the water. And I thought I was going to drown. And I was like, Lord, what are you doing? He said, this isn't water, this is love. And I'm pulling you to the bottom. I think that's my prayer for you today. Because nothing else fixes that. Nothing fixes that hurt in your heart. Nothing. Not enough counseling, not against counseling, I'm not against freedom sessions. Oh, I love freedom sessions. Please sign up for some. Come on. But all that has to direct you towards that light. All of that fiery, burning lamp of love, it all has to direct you to that. Yeah. Let's pray. Daddy, you know what? I just ask for fire to fall in this room. Lord, I ask for your love to captivate long-time strongholds and walls that have been built. And I pray that you start knocking them down, even if it's uncomfortable right now.
Yes.